reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats, and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend. These games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish.
Hello everyone and welcome to a special low-key episode of MMO Reporter. I'm here with the uncomparable, unreplaceable, ever so belligerent Bill. Hi, Bill.
Oh, dang. I didn't know you were going to go with belligerent. I feel like I need to be
Belligerent? Yes.
Unconciliatory.
It is an
Inconciliatory?
just kind of yell at me all the time. It isn't
classic radio.
Okay.
I believe I've broken the code.
You have. We are now officially professional radio broadcasters. Thank you, Bill, for bringing us up to that stratosphere.
Yeah, we're
right up there with Ryan Seacrest now. All right. As I was about to say, it is an all Canadian episode of MMO Reporter this week. Harry is continuing to be a wonderful star of stage and screen. And Leonor's on a road trip. So we're going to talk some games, Bill. It's like the good old days. Back in the good old days. Yep.
Although I feel like I played more games back in the good old days.
Oh, man. This week was just... And this is always April. You go back years and years, and you will find every April, end of April, I'm just talking about how little I've played and how real life just took over. I know because I remember. So... Yeah, it's April's always tough for work. So, why don't you start? Because you, surprisingly enough, played more than me.
I was going to vote and bitch about how busy work is in April and how... No, I'm just kidding. I've only got a little bit of gaming in this week. I have played Guild Wars 2. I got yet another level 80 character. I got my warrior up to level 80 after, took me 4 months, I think, to get there. But Sonny and I finally got our matched characters up to level 80, so that was kind of fun. And now we have to... At one of these days, we're going to have to make a commitment and actually do something other than just level alts. I think we've got to take a stab at either dungeon running or PvP or something in that game. Because, yeah, something like that. Leveling is fun, but... you could only really... Sometimes you need a break. So, yeah, just about time for a leveling break, I think. I took my own little leveling break and actually took a time out and played a little bit of Transformers Fall of Cybertron, actually, which is an interesting game. That was one of my Christmas Steam sale purchases, which I finally jumped into. And it's okay. It's basically an on-rails... third-person type shooter with a smidgen of driving thrown in and stuff like that, and it's fun. But I think the biggest thing that I'm enjoying the most, and this is more a me thing than it is what makes the game the best, but I love Peter Cullen so much. Like, Peter Cullen is you might not know the name, but you absolutely will know. He's the voice of Optimus Prime, so everybody knows that.
Roll out.
He's so cool. It's not cool. Actually, he's not cool. It's very much a larger than life performance of Optimus Prime. He just nails the it's not an over the top hero, but it's not understated either. He just hits the type of character that is just a calm, collected leader who's dealing with a lot, but he's dealing with it just about as well as you could ever hope. So anyway, very cool. It's always that's if I had to pick a voiced character that was quintessential to my childhood, and it just took me right back to being 10 years old and 9 years old and everything like that, and just watching Saturday morning cartoons. It's Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. Interesting facts. Peter Cullen is Canadian, which is awesome.
That makes him ever more awesome. Yes.
All the more all Canadian MMO Reporter episode 213. He also played Avenger who is the main villain in the D&D cartoon. I don't know if you remember that, but that's another one that's just makes me happy about my childhood. He was also Eeyore in New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and amazingly enough, he was also this was amazing to me because I didn't even realize it, but he was Carr, like the Karr, the antagonist in Knight Rider.
Oh, really?
Which is basically the opposite of Kit. So,
wow. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that.
So many cool kids stuff from the 80s is Peter Cullen.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, anyway, Transformers, follow Cybertron. If you like Transformers, if you like Transformers from the 80s and Peter Cullen, then that is a vehicle to getting through to that. Pun absolutely intended.
All of that series of Transformer games are fun action games. They're not super deep. They're not super hard. They're just fun. They're
popcorn. You get to shoot things. You blow things up. You
absolutely.
You transform. It's
I
cool.
would hope in a Transformers game that there would be some sort of transforming.
Yes, you actually do.
Do they do the sound right?
They do it 100 times better than you do it, actually.
Wow.
Not to knock you, but
I didn't ask if they did it better than me. I asked if they did it right.
They do it fairly right. It's not exactly the same as the old Hanna-Barbera type cartoon, but it's close enough that I can make do with it.
There you go. I guess
that was basically it for me. And you?
Real life, yeah. I did play a little bit of WoW the other night. I went into my garrison. I did some questing, got the jukebox finally done for my garrison, got some wood for my lumber mill and stuff like that, and just did some housekeeping stuff just to get going again. And I put a whole bunch of stuff on the auction house. Now, I'm not, again, like I mentioned before, I'm not playing the auction house. I'm not buying low, selling high, but I have no issues selling all my junk on the auction house. So I'm getting closer. Still, I don't know if I made any money yet because I haven't logged on since then, but hopefully a little bit. That'd be nice. Maybe pop me over 10,000 would be wonderful. I don't think I'll hit 30,000 in a week. I don't think I'll be able to get 20,000 gold in a week. But I'll talk about my thoughts.
Possible?
Well, technically, yes. Somebody can give me 20,000 gold. That would work. So I'll be streaming a little bit finally this week. We are streaming next Wednesday. That is the 29th, I believe. Yes, 29th of April. We're going to be streaming 8 p.m. about Pacific. Some Marvel Heroes to commemorate the soon after launch of the Age of Ultron movie, Avengers 2. So going to get some people from the network on, and we're going to be playing some Marvel Heroes, and it will be fun. You should all come and hang out and watch, etc., etc. It's going to be a blast because Marvel Heroes is a really fun game to play with friends, just that sort of chaotic dungeon crawling sort of stuff. You don't crawl through dungeons, but you crawl through city blocks that are surprisingly like Diablo dungeons. Isn't it funny how it works when you have the person who was behind Diablo 2 make a new game that's Marvel Heroes and then say, it's basically Diablo 2 with Marvel's superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of is, but you don't really want to say it out loud.
Well, they do.
Why not?
They did.
You might as well own it, right?
Right, exactly.
if you're just gonna put a new skin on an old idea, then
it works.
Yep.
Yep. So we've actually got a story coming up about Marvel Heroes in the news. And then a couple things real quick here. Thanks to our newest patrons. We are now up to 27 patrons, a total of $127. Thank you very much. We are getting near, we're almost... We're close to $100 away from our next goal, so that's fantastic. Thank you to everyone who has been a sponsor on our Patreon campaign, patreon.com/MMO Reporter. And most importantly, I am really happy to be able to take the secrecy away from our mysterious PAX East benefactor. A few weeks before PAX East, fairly late in the process, we got an email from a potential sponsor looking to get us to PAX East, who was also happened to be a listener of the MMO Reporter Network, really liked what we did, and wanted to see us head over to PAX East. And it was a really interesting discussion because I was a little bit worried because it is a game in the end that sponsored us, and I was worried about what could potentially be the back end of this. Well, we want a 10 out of 10 review. We want lots of positive coverage, or, we want to stifle any negative commentary or anything like that about it. But before I even said anything along those lines, my contact said, you know what? We're not looking for anything specific about the game. You don't need to give it a review or an extremely positive review. When we do launch this game, we just want you to remind everyone that all that PAX East coverage was sponsored by us. So I'm really happy to announce that a company called Muteki was the one that sponsored our PAX East trip. They are the ones who made that classic RPG Dragon Fantasy, which I believe, Bill, you recall very fondly.
I'm trying to place it again. I'm remembering the game, the world name Westeria, which is what where the game's kind of placed. I've been trying to remember if it's an NES game or if it was a Genesis game or what, and I'm really struggling. But the vibe of that type of kind of turn-based fantasy type thing. It looks cool. Like I haven't played it yet. I've added it to my Steam list earlier today. I'm probably gonna get it later when I can actually sit down and play. But this is I used to just live in this kind of game. It was just awesome. Like I remembering the old style of Dragon Warrior and that kind of thing. That's what I remember from here, and that's kind of what it looks like.
So, just recently, they have released a remastered version for PC on Steam. So we've got a link in the show notes, or you can just search on Steam for Dragon Fantasy, The Volumes of Westeria. And you can check out the game. If you liked our content, go check it out. Make your own thoughts about it. We are probably going to take a look at it in the next little while and see what we think. And I just want to thank Brian and the folks over at Muteki for sponsoring our PAX East trip. I thought we got some really great content out of it. And I highly encourage all of you to go check out the game and let us know what you think. Is this your new favorite JRPG, your classic sort of remastered RPG? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? We want to hear everything. So send us an email. We'll have all the contact info at the end of the show. So let's move things along to the news. If I can find my sound button. There it is.
So we've had a bit of an adventure in releases recently. Grand Theft Auto 5 finally came out for PC. It was originally slated to be a January release, but it's been pushed back and is finally out there now. So you can hop around and be the generally dysfunctional member of society that you have been for the previous generations of Grand Theft Auto, except it's a little bit more. It's MMO-ish.
Yes.
In that it's kind of it's based around being an open world play, and it's based around multiplayer that can be up to 30 people, which is again, it's not massively multiplayer, but it's not tiny multiplayer either, I guess.
Yeah, Massively OP said their headline for it was GTA Online, all the open world feels, none of the MMO grind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The online stuff is a huge open world. There's some progression. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as deep as an MMO tends to be. But, there's no grind to it. You just go out and do stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're really hanging their hat on exactly that. Basically getting in there, experiencing the world, doing weird things, not necessarily, like, there is obviously a storyline. Every Grand Theft Auto has a storyline,
which is absolutely fantastic. I played it through it on Xbox 360. It is awesome.
Oh, very cool. Where the reviews really say that the game shines and really separates itself from everything else that's out there is what you can do in the open world and how kind of rich and deep everything is. Like, it feels like you're wandering around, or again, reviews and that kind of thing, but it's supposed to feel like you're actually wandering around in a real city that's alive and has movies playing in the theater and has casinos and as well as obviously people you can mug on the streets. You can steal just about everything. So we're not talking about reality or anything like that, but anyway, if you've done Grand Theft Auto before, it's kind of in that vein, but apparently just more.
Mm-hmm. It is a very long game. It's the story itself is very, very long. Very good story, but there's a lot of stuff. There could have been some fat that was trimmed from the story itself, but the problem was, it was good fat. It was fun to do. So while it wasn't necessary for moving the story forward, it was still a heck of a lot of fun to do.
Mm-hmm. So
go ahead.
I was just going to say they made a few changes for PC, so it's not just a rebranded console port. They've added director mode, which allows you to kind of basically create or use the Grand Theft Auto open world as a directorial studio. You can create your own little cutscenes and your own little scenarios and that kind of thing. They've added first-person view, which is something that was recently added to the Xbox One and PS4 versions of the game. That's included with the PC version of the game right off the hop. They've added and heists, which are kind of a newer feature that they added to the console versions as well, which is basically like 4-player co-op and that kind of thing. So you get a few little new nuggets with Grand Theft Auto 5 as well as the game, like I said, finally landing on PC.
Yeah, I have not, like, I haven't played it in quite a while. My Xbox 360 is now my kids, so I haven't played the heist mode. I've heard wonderful and horrible things about it all at the same time. There's this real cops versus robbers trend right now going on in multiplayer games online between Payday 2 and Hardline and Grand Theft Auto 5. So anyone who's into that sort of gameplay is in an absolute heaven right now because there's a dearth of it out there available. But I can't recommend the game enough to anyone, pretty much. It was really just super, super enjoyable.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Might have to. It's been on my list for a while to keep my eye on. I was obviously bitterly disappointed when it wasn't out for PC when the game came out, but it's a hard life.
When if you buy it for PC, then I have to look at buying it for PC so we can play together. But then I can also, do I look at buying it on PS4 so I can play with Harry? What's my choice, Bill?
Well, you know what you could do? You could just buy me a PS4. I'll go out buy Grand Theft Auto 5, and then we can all play together.
I don't have to buy you Grand Theft Auto 5 with it? Okay.
No,
that's a steal, man. Wow.
I'm willing to participate. I'm a helper, is what I am.
That you are. Yeah, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts as well. Either it can be console players or those of you who've gone onto the the PC version as well and bought that. I love the first line of the massively OP article on this as well. I'll throw the link in the show notes for people to read. It says, any minute now I'm going to log out of Grand Theft Auto Online so I can finish this not a review. Seriously, I've played this game for 65 hours since its launch on PC last week. At least that's what Steam says. So it's obviously a favorite of that reviewer. So
Awesome.
yeah, so go check it out. All right, we have a little bit more news too.
Yeah.
I as I teased at the beginning of the show, there's a whole bunch of new Age of Ultron content coming out for Marvel Heroes 2015. It's really cool that they are able to tie into the TV shows and to the movies so well with content. I remember when Thor: Dark World came out, Loki became a playable character, and I played him and loved Loki in that game. That was a ton of fun, getting all my duplicates out, and it was just so awesome. So I really enjoyed that. And then the storyline of unlocking, like, it was like the gates of Ashkara. Did I say it right? In WoW? Ankh-Morpork, thank you. The Gates of Ankh-Morpork, where everyone was working together to try to unlock the portal to Asgard to make it work. And so everybody was grinding out this zone. It was a lot of fun to do that. And by linking it to movies like that, they were able to make it a short-term event so you didn't grind it for months and months, right? So they've got a couple different things. First of all, Vision is going to be available as a new player character, and each of the characters in Marvel Heroes 2015 has three different talent trees they can go down. So Vision, his three, the one tree is sort of dealing with robotics and hacking, and he can hack and permanently take control of robots. So a pet class, basically. And he gets these permanent pets. He can take over the robots in the game. Mm-hmm. Very much like some other characters could, I think Emma Frost was one of them, if I remember right, could take over animals in the game. Mm-hmm. And I think some could even take over humanoids in the game with psychic powers. So he can hack robots and take control of them. The other one, which is kind of cool if you want to build him as a brawler, he can do his density manipulation. So you put him into high density mode and he kind of stomps around on the ground and he has really physical attacks. And then you can put him into phase density mode where he teleports by, kind of going into the ground and then popping up somewhere else. And he floats off the ground and has some faster, lighter attacks. But the cool thing about it is that the cooldowns for all the attacks in the different modes are on different cooldowns. They're not tied together. So you can use up all your cooldowns in one mode, pop modes over to the other, and then use up all the cooldowns in that mode. So that's kind of cool. And then he's also got a range tree with the solar gem that is embedded in his forehead that gives him some ranged attacks that are all solar powered. So Vision seems kind of cool. I mean, that's my problem with Marvel Heroes is that I want to play all the heroes. And I want to get them all to 60. Like, right now. Because they look fun.
Now, I don't know Vision, but is this supposed to be like a hint of what's going to be coming up with the new as a character in the Age of Ultron movie?
I'm not saying anything.
Oh,
I have read this storyline in the comics, and there's been tons of discussion about it online. So I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Fair enough.
But freaking cool. And then there's the new Ultron mode. Which is going to be a new sort of content in the game. And it's kind of a phase style where there's different phases and you have to do different waves of monsters and stuff like that. And then as you go through, you'll get a medal at the end, like gold or silver, whatever. And the better you do, the better rewards that you'll get. So phase 1 in this Ultron mode is to save civilians and kill enemies. You fill a progress bar with that. Then phase 2, you have to defend an EMP device. And then phase 3 is kind of like a series of mini-boss challenges. So you get a whole bunch of mini-bosses, the Iron Legion. And then in phase 4, you fight Ultron himself. And apparently it's a very, very long fight. So this is all part of Marvel Heroes Avengers Assemble event. And I think the two games that I wish I could play more that I just don't have time for are Neverwinter and Marvel Heroes. They both give me the same feeling. I play them, I'm like, yeah, I should play this all the time. Then I log out and I'm like, oh man, I should get back at some point. Yeah. So
what's for the Ultron mode? What size of group are you looking at for that?
I think 5. The 5-person group, yeah.
Okay.
So, and there's going to be some stuff sprinkled around. I've got a link in the show notes for people who want to see it to the Avengers Assemble event, which you'll be able to check out. And I think this is something like they did with the Asgard stuff. It's going to be something that's not necessarily going to be level restricted. Now, the other cool thing about the Avengers Assemble event is that when you first log into the game and you're first starting out, you get to pick one hero from this group of 10. And you get to have that character for free to level 60. And then you can buy more if you want them. Now, with this, they're going to make sure that you're going to have those 10, but you're also going to have the Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, available for free to choose. So you're going to be able to you're going to be able to play all of them, but you can unlock one to play all the way to level 60. So that's kind of cool. And then if you play as an Avenger, you get a 50% XP boost. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, so those Ultron events are set off by random Ultron sentries scattered throughout other areas of the map. So that's kind of cool. I'm kind of excited. It should be fun. So hopefully we can get into some of that next Wednesday when we are streaming some Marvel Heroes stuff, because that would be fun. Now, Bill.
Yes.
When you grind out your games, have you ever tried grinding out while listening to an audiobook?
Well, actually, yes, I have.
Well, this was going to go well, then you interrupted.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Why, yes, I have.
Well, Bill, have I got a deal for you? Just go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter and sign up for the new Audible trial that you can get from our good friends over at Audible. With this trial, you'll get 1 free month subscription, which will give you 1 audiobook credit. You can spend it on any book that you'd like. And you know what, Bill? Just because I like you, you can keep that book forever. And we'll extend that to all of our listeners.
Oh, so you like all of our listeners?
I surprisingly enough, I do. They're all
Even
very
Steve?
Steve's not a listener. Don't even go there. I actually met a few at PAX East. One of our regulars, I'm trying to remember his name now. I feel so bad for not remembering. One of the regulars from the Guild Wars Reporter chat room just flagged me down at some point, and another listener as well flagged me down at one point. I guess I'm hard to miss with that MMO Reporter t-shirt.
Oh, very cool.
But it was really, really cool. Nice to meet them. So, yes, all of our listeners can go to audiblepodcast.com/MMO Reporter. They can sign up, and when they sign up, they get their first month free. This is a subscription program where you sign up for the subscription, you get a free, you get an audio book per month as part of your subscription, but we'll give you your first month free. And of course, over at Doghouse Systems, our good friends over at Doghouse Systems will give you a free 120 gigabyte SSD with your purchase if you use our coupon code MMO Reporter. Now, they have got a new system out that they wanted us to mention. They sent me a message, and they've just put together a new system that they're incredibly proud about. It is the new Armor VS system. So you can get it with i3, i5, or i7. So go check it out. It's got a new chassis and a new lower price. Hey, always nice to get a good deal on stuff. You really should go check it out. I really like all of their stuff. And Carrie is absolutely in love with her Doghouse System computer.
I like that Armor VS case. It's understated, but still looks really fancy. It's slick.
And I like how in this one, it's got the video card right there. You can see that there. So it's nice. So go check it out, doghousesystems.com, and use the coupon code MMO Reporter. All right. We've just got a few quick mentions here that we want to talk about. Echo of Souls, which is a ported MMO from Korea is coming to North American audiences. You can check out the Founders Packs that they have at founder.echoofsouls.us.
Soul. Singular.
Echo of Soul. Sorry, Echo of Soul. I keep saying souls. I don't know why. So they've got a few different packs. What I like about this, as far as Founders Packs go, which I don't always love, they've got a cheap one, $20 for a starter pack, and you get a few different things with that. But then, instead of just having more and more expensive ones, let me start with this. The starter pack has early game access, name secure, founder form title, and in-game founder title, as well as some in-game items as well for $20. And then there's a few different packs that you can get that are all the same price, $50, and it just depends on what you want to get. You can get a companion pack, you can get an apparel pack, or you can get a dungeon pack. It's kind of a interesting way to do it. Instead of doing a $20 pack that has some stuff, a $50 pack that has more, 75 more. So, in the end, by splitting it up, people might end up spending more, but at least there's choice. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm just taken aback here. I was just reading through the Dungeon Legend pack, and one of the things that you get is 20 dungeon tickets. Use these tickets to enter dungeons more often. More dungeon runs means more bosses to kill. So they're gating dungeons with tickets.
I think that might be a free thing. I'm not quite sure about that. We'll have to find out for next week. But yeah, that's kind of weird. There's a lot of weird stuff about this game. I played it with Koopa from over at Lorehound at their party at PAX East. And the gameplay itself was good, but it was very much Aeon derivative of that Korean style of combat MMO. Much more like Aeon than, say, Terra or Lineage. Just that it really reminded me of Aeon. So I wasn't blown away by that, but there was definitely nothing bad about it. It just wasn't wowing me. What I was surprised, though, is when we asked the CEO of the company who was at the party, we asked him a game-specific question, and he said, "Oh, you'll have to ask, so and so, because I don't really play the game." That just seemed a little bit odd to me. And I mean, it is the company is hired to port it from Korean to North American audiences. They're not changing anything about it. They're not westernizing it, like is a very popular term for these Korean MMOs that come over to North America. They are simply translating it, localizing it. So, yeah, that's interesting. I was a lot surprised that he said that, but maybe that's just yeah.
The good thing is he's not feeding you a line of BS or anything, because obviously he would lie about something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just seemed a little odd. Maybe the way the company structure is he's a business manager and he's got people who worry about all this other stuff, right? That's very well could be the case. I just have never had that happen before.
Yeah, that's
right.
Again, like I said, you're definitely not being fed a line. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Go check it out if you are looking for a very very grindy type of MMO. This could be for you. Go check it out at echoofsoul.us. And I'm very happy to say there's a new WildStar endgame zone. The Starcom Basin is going to be a new endgame zone with some rotating daily quests, which is something very, very nice. I got quite tired of the daily quests in WildStar because they didn't really rotate too much. But apparently there's going to be more here. You're going to be helping out the caretaker in Starcom Basin. And it's going to be cool. So there's lots of Elder Game quests. There's lots of public events. And there's at each day of the week, you're going to find one of three groups in charge of the central area of Starcom, and that'll help that'll decide which quests that you get. So yeah, more loot, more content, more fun. And I believe it was Hagu that sent us another email wondering there's some new mounts as well. Wondering if I could resist. I'll be going back into WildStar shortly because there's mounts.
I see.
It's worse if it was a spider mount. I don't think you could keep me away, like at all.
Yeah.
Spider mounts, hello.
I can't even comment because I bought the stinking spider mount.
Yep. Yeah, so go check it out because there's been a real big resurgence in WildStar, I think, in the last little while. Their content has really been, not bug-free, but so much better than it was at launch. Just really, really clean. I mean, there's always going to be some bugs in any content that you put out. I haven't seen any game put out a content update that didn't have some bugs. So WildStar is doing much better. They also, another sort of side note here, I've just been looking into WildStar stuff recently. They're rejigging some of their streaming stuff. So if you're a fan of 0 to 50, which was Tony, one of the community managers over there at Carbine, sort of looking over a couple things now. He was leveling a character from 0 to 50, and he'd have a whole crew follow him and sort of play with him and stuff like that. They're going to rework that show into something a little bit different and rework their live streaming to try and make it a little bit more entertaining and get that going. But I'm really happy with the content. The last content update was really well done. The Proto Games Initiative. This one seems to hopefully be on track for being something really, really positive, some more content, which I'm sure people are screaming for. So, if you checked out WildStar at launch, I'll let you know what I think, but I'm going to jump back in there soon, and we'll see how it's doing. But I like all the stuff that they're putting out there. I know you weren't as hooked on it as I was, but
I'd be surprised if it climbs to the top of my list again. And part of it is because I had to drag Asani kicking and screaming to play that game, and I don't know that I could do it again. But even for my own thing, it's an okay game. I don't hate it, but I also have a queue of other games that I want to play a lot more than that.
I understand.
It's below Eve on my list. Let's put it that way.
I don't know what to say to that. I laugh, but it's kind of
Eve
sad.
is very. I always thought Eve was high on my list, and but it was always second or third or fourth, and it never quite got to first, not even once.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. You made me sad now. WildStar's awesome. I still think it's a great game. I really wish. I wish it had taken off. I wish it had. As Ken from Chicago in the chat room says, play WildStar. Almazar says it's almost bug free. And then he also says, play WildStar. MMO Bill says it's an okay game. I don't hate it.
Yeah, we're here to we're just singing the praises.
But the thing is, the world. I love
average.
I love the world. I think the world is fantastic. I love the combat. I think the combat is fantastic. I love the classes. I think the classes are fantastic. Yeah,
I wouldn't tag fantastic for most of those. Again,
I would.
It's decent. I really don't want to get to send the impression that it's a bad game, because it's not. I've played bad games and I was sad for it. And WildStar is not a bad game. It's just not my favorite game. And I don't think it ever even was. Like, even when it was brand new and shiny and everything like that, it wasn't my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ken again says, WildStar was messed up by TPTB messing up the business model. You know what? I was really, really happy that it was a subscription-based game. I I still think there's just something about the community that a subscription creates. Now, there's some games like Guild Wars 2 that have managed to create a great community without a subscription, and maybe WildStar could do that. And the powers that be is TPTB. I do agree with Ken from Chicago again in the chat room here, chatting up a storm with us here, that the insistence on the hardcore rating without the alternative for something else, that I think harmed it more than anything else. I think the difficulty level, I burnt out after getting my attunement. And that was so freaking hard. And it was getting to the point where, as I was working through my attunement, I just wasn't progressing. And I was stuck at a part where I was struggling with the defeating a boss to get the next bit of loot that I needed to get to then make things easier, right? And that treadmill just wasn't going for me, and that got really frustrating. I did end up finishing it, but man, I haven't played WildStar's hardcore since then. That burnt me out, so that was unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. And that's almost a sad commentary. It's the MMOs and that kind of thing. I'm starting to see more of a trend, at least in the really popular MMOs out there, that you don't have hard content anymore. And from a personal perspective, I don't hate that, because I was never gonna be one of those bleeding edge raiders. I was never gonna be one of those people that was in there on day one and one of the first 100 people to max level and raiding on the bleeding edge with max DPS. All that, basically that kind of cutting edge raider type player. That was never gonna be me. There might have been a tiny window for that, like back 10 years ago, that was me, but I can't see it being feasible anymore. That said, when that's not there, even though there's only a tiny band of your players that actually ever wind up playing that content, it's still a target, and it's still it really sets the table for the rest of the game, and it always makes sure that there's something that to aim for. Right now, a lot of games they're almost beatable. Like, you almost have MMOs that are beatable because the content isn't really limiting. Like, there's nothing that's that last bit that only a few people are ever going to finish. And I'm trying to decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, that was one of the I think mystical things about MMOs back in the day, is that they were never beatable unless you were. I mean, the closest you could ever come was to be one of those top 1% of the 1% that actually just obliterated content through hours and hours of effort and coordination with your guild or your raiding group and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I don't know what I think of that trend yet. I don't, like I said, don't think I hate it yet, but it's change, and of course I feel.
I hate to bring up WoW because it tends to polarize our community ever so much, but I think that WoW is doing it right in the levels of rating that you can do. You can do your LFR, which gives you face roll, just smash the keyboard generally with your big toe as you do something else, and you'll get loot. Then the regular, which you have to coordinate, you have to do it, and then, one more that I think Epic is the difficulty level, and that's for the hardcore top notch. And there's tiers of gear in there that you get. Your LFR is going to get you better than your dungeon stuff, but it's not going to get you as good as normal. Normal's not going to get you as good as the mythic. And so that's really what I think is a really great way to do it. And if WildStar had approached it in that way, if there had been this level of difficulty scaling, then I think it could have been huge. It could have been up there in just below Guild Wars 2 range, because I do think all the pieces fit together so nicely. But like Hagu said in the chat room here, Pagu would have played WildStar if it wasn't so hardcore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
and That's the trick. Like, there's obviously an advantage to being not hardcore and being accessible, but there's a little something that just feels like it's being lost.
You need the tiering or the scaling or whatever you want to call it to keep people interested, to have people have a goal. If they beat everything on easy, then they have finished the game, right? Where, like, Guild Wars 2 does it fairly well as well, with if you really want the hardcore stuff, the fractals. And you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and there's always more that you can do, but you feel some success for getting a certain depth into it. Right? And Ken from Chicago again in the chat room says, don't give up on WildStar when it goes subless and starts rebuilding the non-rating features. It has major potential. That it does. And I do think it is a detriment now for them to be saying so little. And I know the reason they're saying so little right now is because they're in the process of getting there. It's going to have to happen. There's no way that they continue with this when, I think, what was it that NCSoft showed a 94% drop in revenue year over year, something along those, like it was up in the, like it was 90 something, right? And so it can't do that and sustain itself. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So there you go. That's the quick mention. Didn't turn out to be such a quick mention after all, Bill.
Whoops.
Yep, that's okay. That was a good discussion, and always love including our chat room in all of that stuff. Now, Bill, if people do want to get a hold of us, how can they do that?
Well, there's just a couple ways here. You can visit us over at MMOReporter.com, which is the central hub, of course, for all the MMO Reporter goodness and other podcast families and everything like that. You can send us an email to mmo.reporter@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/MMO Reporter. You can tweet at any of the MMO reporters, even the in absentia ones, either at MMO_reporter for Chris, at Harry Hall for the stage star Harry Hall, at Leonor for Leonor, and at MMO Bill for yours truly. You can give us a call at 616-666-778. Leave us a voicemail and let us know what you think of the show, and we will, if they keep the swears to a moderate amount, then it'll probably wind up on the next show. You can find a lot of us over on Zerg ID and kind of see what we're playing there. I've tailed off a little bit on maintaining my account, but it's still there, and I'm going to try to keep it up. Zerg ID for Chris. You can find Almazar for yours truly. You can find Woe, Weaux, because I can't spell it.
Whoa.
It's too hard. And predictably, you can find Leonor as Leonor on Zerg ID. You can go head over to YouTube. You can find us there, youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network. And finally, if you're looking to help us keep the old network up and running and on the internet air, as it were, you can head over to MMOReporter.com/support for a bunch of different ways that you can help us out, either through a donation here or there, or you can find our Patreon link there. And we'd love it. We'd love it when people do that.
27 patrons, hoping to get to 30 by the end of the month. That was our goal. Would love to have our wonderful patrons get up to 30. Thank you so much to everyone who has been a patron so far. Bill, it has been a very interesting show. Surprisingly enough, low on the apologies for a Canadian-filled podcast.
Oh, sorry about that.
You know what happens. I'm sorry I mentioned it. I shouldn't have. And it's been an absolute blast chatting with you.
Oh,
I think
likewise.
it's so succinct here. This just feels complete.
As always, I think so. I think I'm going to have to try to work on my Peter Cullen impression. I feel that's what I need to build up as an outro. So maybe we can make that a Patreon goal. I don't know if I can do that though.
I don't know if any human being other than Peter Cullen could do that voice.
I'd have to have like the worst cold ever and get the sexy Bill voice going. And
Ken from Chicago in the chat room says, no need to apologize for being Canadian. It's not your fault. You're right. It's not our fault. It's not our choice. It is our privilege. Thanks, Bill. It's been an absolute blast recording once again with you.
As always.
And thanks to our wonderful chat room for coming and hanging out. It's a blast when we have people in here chatting. And thanks to all of you out there for downloading the podcast week after week. We really appreciate it. We hope that you download the podcast again next week. But most importantly, we hope to see you in game.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOReporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOReporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.